Jules from Pulp Fiction is actually Nick Fury. Seriously, I genuinely think one of the most powerful men in the Marvel Universe started as a hitman quoting the Bible in a diner. Sounds crazy, I know. But once you connect the dots between Pulp Fiction and Nick Fury, we meet in the Iron Man and the wider Marvel Cinematic Universe. A wild theory just starts to emerge when you think about it, but you gotta think. Because what if Jules Winfield didn't disappear at the end of Pulp Fiction? What if he reinvented himself? Into what? Nick Fury. What if the man who once walked in the rooms reciting scripture eventually became the man assembling the Avengers? I'm about to break this down. And strangely enough, this evidence might actually work. Because keep in mind, Jules is a man who survived a miracle. Near the end of Pulp Fiction, Jules Winfield experiences something that shakes his entire worldview. A man empties a revolver at point-blank range. Bullets fly everywhere, but none of them hit. Jules calls it a miracle. He tells Vincent, we should be dead, right? But for Jules, that moment is like lightning striking a tree. It splits his life into two halves. Before the miracle and after. He says he's done being a hitman, done working for crime bosses. Instead, he's gonna walk the earth, and I quote, not as a gangster, but as someone searching for purpose. And this is where my theory begins, because keep in mind, this is a man looking for a mission, right? At the end of the movie, Jules describes what he wants to do next. He says, and I quote, I'm gonna walk the earth, meet people, get into adventures. Very vague, right? Super vague, but determined. It sounds almost mythological, like a wandering samurai, right? Or like a knight leaving the battlefield. But think about it. What happens when someone like Jules, a man who knows violence, strategies, and survival, and can speak his way out of any scenario pretty much, spends years wandering the world? What happens? He doesn't just disappear, he evolves, especially that type of person. And eventually, someone like Jules, he will get noticed. He's just too determined. And he can talk his way through anyone's situation. Like he can get you to do whatever you need to just by understanding his own way. Crazy. Now, I gotta say, if you don't get with this theory, it's because you didn't understand Pulp Fiction or you just haven't seen it, and that's okay. But hey, go watch Pulp Fiction because it might look boring. That hoe is a hit. There's a reason why it's on everybody's t-shirt and people will have posters, and it's an iconic movie for a reason. I'll leave it at that. Now, let's enter Nick Fury, right? Because years later, a mysterious man appears across the global intelligence community. As a strategist, a manipulator, a recruiter, and a man who just sees the world differently. That man is Nick Fury, the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., as we all know. And he's also the architect behind the Avengers Initiative. Fury doesn't just fight enemies, he anticipates them. He gathers powerful individuals and builds teams capable of protecting the entire planet. So in other words, he becomes the exact opposite of the man Jules once was. Instead of destroying lives for criminals, he protects the world from chaos. Just like at the end of Pulp Fiction, Jules said, you caught me in a transitional phase, right? And that takes me into the personality match because the similarities between Jules and Fury are impossible to ignore because both men to the core speak with absolute authority. They command respect the moment they enter a room, and they believe in fate and larger forces at work. Jules once said, the path of the righteous man is beset on all sides. And it's all speech about morality, about protecting the weak. And that philosophy sounds suspiciously similar to Fury's worldview because Fury isn't just running an intelligence agency. He's trying to protect humanity from threats it doesn't even know exists. Almost like a man who once saw a miracle and then decided the world deserved another chance. And you can really see that attribute shine in Pulp Fiction when Jules takes the bloody car to the house and then he tries to protect the guy's wife from finding it after long days of work. There's that sense of morality there. He's still just trying to be cool-headed and, in a sense, still trying to protect someone from something they don't even know about. You can see that attribute shine. And that's what put this on high alert for me. Because you got to keep in mind, Jules is a hitman, right? So why that odd sense of morality in that weird moment, That's that Nick Fury coming out. Now let's talk about those wandering years. Because remember Jules' promise to walk the earth? Now imagine what happens next. Years of traveling, learning, meeting people, building connections, slowly moving closer to the world of intelligent agencies and global power. Eventually, someone with his skills would attract attention. The CIA, military intelligence, or something even bigger. From there, Jules could easily transition into the shadow world of global defense. And this is where the name Jules Winfield disappears and the new identity begins to form, Nick Fury. And that takes me into the eye patch and the transformation. Fury's eye patch has always been a part of the mystique. It symbolizes experience. There's the scars, lifetime of battles, right? And if Fury truly was Jules once upon a time, the patch becomes something else. It's proof that a man once survived a miracle, kept fighting long enough to earn new scars, and then Jules believed the miracle changed his path. Fury proves the path never stopped evolving. Now, at the beginning of Pulp Fiction, Jules Winfield believes the world is chaos. Simple. Violence, crime, survival. But after the miracle in that apartment, everything just changes. He starts to believe there's something bigger guiding his path of life. And that idea lines up perfectly with the world of Marvel Cinematic Universe because the MCU is a universe where cosmic forces, destiny, and impossible events shape the fate of the entire planet, many planets. So Nick Fury spends his life preparing for threats humanity doesn't even understand yet, almost like a man who once realized the universe might have a plan, right? And maybe the miracle Jules witnessed wasn't just random luck. Maybe it was the moment that pushed him toward becoming the protector of a much bigger world. Now, there's another detail that I'm sure everyone noticed that just makes this theory even more fun. Both Jules and Nick Fury are played by the same actor, Samuel L. Jackson, cousin of Michael Jackson. Crazy. Now, obviously, that alone doesn't make the theory real, but it does create a strange sense of continuity, right? It's the same voice, same presence, same calm intensity when things go wrong. It's almost like watching the same character at two different stages of life. First, a man learning the meaning of redemption in a diner, then later a man standing in the shadows assembling heroes to protect the world in a diner with Iron Man. And if that connection really existed, then the story of Jules Winfield didn't end at the diner at all. It was just the first chapter of something much bigger. Now, one thing people often overlook about Jules in Pulp Fiction is that he isn't just a hitman. He's a strategist, and you just gotta watch how he handles his situations. He reads people instantly, just like the diner scene at the last scene in the movie. It's like, you can just tell he reads them very quickly. And when things go wrong, Vincent panics, but Jules, he stays calm. He analyzes, he adapts. Just like when he had to make a call for the wolf in Pulp Fiction. That's the exact mindset that defines Nick Fury. Fury doesn't rely on superpowers, he relies on strategy. And in the Avengers, Fury doesn't try to fight alien armies himself. Instead, he gathers the right people and places them where they need to be, just like Jules once did in a very different world. Both men understand one key rule. Sometimes the most dangerous weapon in the room is the person who's thinking 3 moves ahead. Hit that like if you like what you're hearing. The real transformation from Jules to Fury isn't physical, it's philosophical. At the start of Pulp Fiction, Jules quotes Ezekiel before every hit, but he admits something important later. He says he's been saying those words for years without really understanding them. Then after the miracle, the speech suddenly means something different. I'm trying real hard to be the shepherd, he says, right? That line might be the most important clue in this entire theory, because years later, Nick Fury essentially becomes the shepherd of Earth's mightiest heroes. He guides them, he brings them together, he pushes them toward protecting the world. Think about that. In a strange way, Fury becomes exactly what Jules said he wanted to be, a man to lead others down the path of righteousness. Now, my favorite part, here's the theory in full, and I'm gonna break it down like I always do. At the end of Pulp Fiction, Jules Winfield leaves his life as a hitman after surviving what he believes is a miracle. He spends years wandering the world, learning, searching for purpose. Eventually, his skills bring him into contact with intelligence organizations. Recognizing his strategic mind and leadership ability, he rises through the ranks. Over time, Jules Winfield disappears completely, and the man he becomes is Nick Fury, a protector of Earth, a man assembling heroes, a man who believes fate put him on this path because after surviving death, Jules decided the rest of his life would mean something. Now, at the end of Pulp Fiction, Jules Winfield makes a decision that most characters in crime films never make. He walks away from violence, away from crime, away from the life he always knew. He tells Vincent he's trying to be something different, right? Again, that takes you to the I'm trying real hard to be the shepherd line. And years later, in the world of Marvel Cinematic Universe, a man named Nick Fury appears seamlessly. A man who doesn't wear a cape, a man who doesn't have powers, but a man who gathers heroes and leads them. Again, almost like a shepherd guiding warriors instead of sheep. So maybe Jules didn't walk the earth after that diner. Maybe he just kept searching, learning, changing even, until the universe finally gave him a purpose big enough for the man he was becoming. Because sometimes the biggest heroes aren't the ones throwing punches. Sometimes they're the ones standing in the shadows. And we know Nick Fury is always in the shadows. And making sure the right people are ready when the world needs them the most is kind of his forte in both movies. And I'm not gonna lie, this theory at first I'm like, but the more you watch both movies, the easier it is to see the seamless transition from Jules to Nick Fury. Because it's just like Smokey from Friday going to Detective Carter in Rush Hour. The timeline matches up in real time. There's the obvious motive to become this new person. And it's just the exact same character, same inflections, same stances, same intensity, same determination. It's the same thing in both characters. And you can even see it at the start of Pulp Fiction. Jules quotes scripture before pulling the trigger, which is crazy. At the center of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Nick Fury gathers heroes to protect the world. It's 2 men, 2 lives, and 1 possible journey. From diner in Los Angeles to a helicarrier in the sky, back to a diner in Los Angeles. And maybe the miracle Jules talks about wasn't random at all. Maybe it was just a moment the universe decided the world would need him later. Now that's my theory. If you enjoyed it and want more deep dives and all these connections, and man, hit that like. It really helps the video. You know how it go. Let's reach more people and let's get to this. But I really want to hear y'all's take. Do you think Jules actually became Nick Fury, or is this just a wild coincidence? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because the best theories always start with a good debate, and we know this. And if you're into movie theories, hidden details, mind-bending connections like this, all that, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. You know, we can't be missing these breakdowns because I'm going to get to it, right? So thanks for watching. I'll see y'all in the next theory. I'm gone. Stay smooth.
Be dead as fucking fried chicken. But you happen to pull this shit while I'm in a transitional period, and I don't want to kill you. I want to help you.